Example, to prove that two vectors alpha and beta in real inner product space V are orthogonal if and only if modulus of norm of alpha plus beta square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square. So this is the example. Now solution. Let alpha and beta be two vectors in a real inner product space. So we have norm of alpha plus beta square is equal to inner product of alpha beta and alpha beta. So on solving this, we will get alpha plus beta plus inner product of beta alpha plus beta. On further simplifying this, we are getting inner product of alpha plus inner product of alpha beta plus inner product of beta alpha plus inner product of beta beta. So this is nothing but norm of alpha square, and since it is given that this is alpha and beta are elements of real inner product, so we can write alpha beta and beta alpha are same. So this is also alpha beta and this is norm of beta square. So from here we can write norm of alpha square plus 2 times inner product of alpha beta plus norm of beta square. Now further we can write norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square plus 2 times alpha beta. This is nothing but norm of alpha beta the whole square, but we have to prove that norm of alpha plus beta whole square is norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square. So if alpha and beta are orthogonal, because here it is if and only if, so here we are assuming suppose alpha and beta are orthogonal. So if they are orthogonal, this implies that inner product of alpha and beta is equal to 0. If this happens, suppose I am writing this as equation 1, then if I put value of alpha, inner product of alpha beta in equation 1, then I will get norm of alpha beta whole square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square, since this value is 0. Then our first part of the theorem is proved. Now conversely, suppose that norm of alpha plus beta whole square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square. If this happens, then I have to prove that alpha and beta are orthogonal. Now if this happens, then we have already that norm of alpha plus beta whole square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square plus 2 times inner product of alpha and beta. This is by equation 1, and from the given part we have norm of alpha plus beta the whole square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square. So this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. On comparing both the equation, we will get 2 times inner product of alpha beta is equal to 0. This implies alpha inner product of alpha beta is equal to 0. This indicates that alpha and beta are orthogonal. Hence Our example is proved. So we have proved if alpha and beta are orthogonal, then they will satisfy the condition norm of alpha plus beta the whole square is equal to norm of alpha square plus norm of beta square. And if condition is true, then alpha and beta are necessarily orthogonal. So this result is also known as Pythagoras theorem. So this result is known as Pythagorean theorem. So you have to remember, if it is asked in the exam, state and prove Pythagoras theorem, then you will prove this. Now we have an example. If V is an inner product space and S1, S2 are subset of S, S1 and S2 are subset of V, then we have to prove 4 conditions. First one is that if S1 is contained in S2, this implies S2 complement is contained in S1 complement. Second one, if S complement is equal to spanning set of S complement. Third one, we have spanning set of S is contained in S complement's complement. And fourth one, we have spanning set of S is equal to S complement of complement if V is finite dimensional. Solution. Let for the first one S1 contain in S2. Now we have, if alpha belongs to S2 complements, this implies this alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S2. This implies, here we have taken alpha in S complement. This implies alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S2. But we have S1 is contained in S2. So S1, if S1 is a proper subset of S2, then this implies that alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S1, since S1 is in S2. Now if alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S1, this implies alpha belongs to S1 complement. This is what we want to prove. This implies alpha belongs to S2 complement, implies alpha belongs to S1 complement. This implies S2 complement is contained in S1 complement. So first term thing is done. Now for second one, we have S is always contained in spanning set of S. So if this happens, then spanning set of S complement is contained in S complement. This can be written by using first. Now let alpha belongs to S complement. If alpha belongs to S complement, then from the definition of S complement, we can write alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S. Vector in S. Let B be any vector in spanning set S, then this B is a linear combination of, or we can take this as, this is beta. So beta is a linear combination of vectors in S. So we can say that beta is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n ai alpha I, where each alpha i's belongs to S. Now we have inner product of alpha beta is equal to alpha and beta is equal to summation I equal to 1 to n ai alpha I. Now on expanding this, we will get alpha a1 alpha 1 plus inner product of alpha a2 alpha 2 plus inner product of alpha an alpha n. Now a1 a2 an are scalars, so I can take them outside since we are talking about here scalars. So this can be written as alpha alpha 1. Now a2 alpha alpha 2 plus an alpha alpha n. Now we are saying that alpha is orthogonal to every vector in S and alpha i's are vectors of S. So we can say that if inner product of alpha alpha 1, inner product of alpha alpha 2, inner product of alpha n is what? 0. So a1 into 0, a2 into 0 plus an into 0. So we say that inner product of alpha and beta is equal to 0, but beta was element of spanning set S. So from this we can say that this alpha belongs to spanning set of S complement. So here we have taken alpha in S complement and here we are getting alpha in spanning set of S complement. This implies S complement is contained in spanning set of S complement. This is equation number 2. So from 1 and 2 we can conclude that S complement is equal to spanning set of S complement. Now for the third one, let alpha belongs to spanning set of S if beta is any vector in S complement, then beta is orthogonal to every vector in S. So if beta is any vector in S complement, this implies beta is orthogonal to every vector in S. Now consequently beta is orthogonal to alpha, which is nothing but a linear combination of a vector of a finite number of vectors in S. Therefore we can say that this alpha belongs to S complement implies alpha is orthogonal to every vector of S. This implies alpha belongs to S complements. Therefore spanning set of S is contained in S complement. Now for the fourth one, we have S complement is equal to spanning set of S complement. This implies S complement is equal to spanning set of S complement, its complement. This implies this is equal to S complements and spanning set of complements. And we know that spanning set of S is a subspace of V, and if V is any finite dimensional and W is a subspace of V, then W is equal to W's complements. So we can write that spanning set of S complement is equal to spanning set of S. So we have proved this example. Next example, if S is a subset of an inner product space V, then prove that S complement is equal to S triple complement. So solution, we know that S is contained in S complements. Now taking S complement in place of S, so we see that I am writing S complement in the place of S. So S complement is contained in S complement. So here I can write S complement is contained in S triple complement. So this is equation number 1. Also S is contained in S double complement. So if this happen, then we have example, and according to that I can write S complement is contained in S complement. Since we have, if S1 is a subset of S2, this implies S2 complement is contained in S1 complement. So therefore S triple complement is contained in S complement. This is equation number 2. Now from equation number 1 and 2 we can conclude that S complement is equal to S triple complement. Next we have example, let V be a finite dimensional inner product space of a dimension n. So V has dimension m. If alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha m's are orthogonal set, that means each for distinct alphas, inner product of this alpha 1, alpha 2 is 0. So prove that there exists a vector alpha m plus 1, alpha m plus 2 up to alpha n, such that the set containing all the vector from alpha 1 to alpha n is an orthonormal basis for V. So to prove this example, let B is equal to alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha m. If m is equal to n, then there is a complete orthonormal set in V, because we are saying that orthonormal set is from alpha 1 to alpha m. If m and r are m and n are equal, then there is nothing to prove. Theorem is obvious. We have to prove if m is less than or greater than equal to n. So therefore B will be the orthonormal basis for V. Now if m is less than n, then what happened? So if m is less than n, then B is not complete orthonormal set, and so B can be enlarged by the adding one or more vector to it, so that resulting set is also orthonormal set. Now this process can be contained till the B become a complete orthonormal set. So B will be the largest set containing all the orthonormal bases. Till that time we will add some element to this B. If it will happen only when the numbers of vector in B will become n. Thus if m is less than n, then we can find vector alpha m plus 1, alpha m plus 2 up to alpha n, such that B1 is equal to alpha 1 to alpha n. This is the complete orthonormal set in V, so it is the basis for V. Hence our example. Next example, let W be a subspace of an inner product space V if alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha n is a basis for W, then this beta belongs to W complement if and only if inner product of beta alpha I is equal to 0 for all I is equal to 1 to n. So we have to prove that if W is a subspace of inner product space V, and if alpha 1 up to alpha n is a basis for W and beta belongs to W complement, if this happens, then inner product will be 0, and if inner product is 0, then this will be the basis of W and beta belongs to W complement. Now solution: suppose this beta belongs to W complement. If we are taking this, then we will prove that inner product of beta alpha is 0. Then by definition of W complement, we can write inner product of beta with alpha i's are 0, and this alphas belongs to W for all alpha belongs to W. Now we have proof, or we can write, since alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n belongs to W, therefore we must have inner product of beta alpha I is equal to 0 for all alpha is equal for all I is equal to 1 to n. So we are saying that if beta belongs to W complement, then by definition of W complement, we can write inner product of beta and alpha is equal to 0 and alpha belongs to W. But we know that each alpha i's are element of W and beta inner product of beta alpha is equal to 0. Then our theorem is proved. Now conversely, suppose that inner product of beta alpha I is equal to 0 for all I is equal to 1 to n. Then we have to prove that beta belongs to W complement. Now let alpha be any vector in W, then alpha can be expressed as linear combination of the vectors belonging to the basis alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha n of W. So we can write alpha is equal to summation I equal to 1 to n Ci alpha I. Now inner product of beta alpha is equal to inner product of beta, and instead of alpha we are writing its value Ci alpha I. On expanding this, we are getting answer as beta C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus Cn alpha n. So we will get as C1 bar beta alpha 1 plus C2 bar beta alpha 2 plus Cn beta alpha n. Now we are saying that inner product of beta alpha is 0, so we will get inner product of beta alpha as 0. Thus inner product of beta alpha I or alpha is equal to 0 for all alpha belongs to W. So this implies this beta belongs to W complement. So we have proved this example.